Straight to the point, sports and entertainment. Y'all hit that like button. Make sure you sub to the channel if you're not a member. Also hit the notifications to get all of my content and as well as all of my videos. Salute to the whole entire LDBC, Lions Den basketball and boxing community, and salute to all of the people that rock with me. Um, First and foremost, man, let me give a shout out to uh, one of my guys, man, on this YouTube thing. It's HDII. Salute to that brother, man. Um, go sub to his channel. Now, me and HDII was having, a little back and forth or whatnot. Um, had a couple guys on this panel or whatnot. And the main topic was Rasheed Wallace a Hall of Famer? And of course, he said that Rasheed Wallace, he was a Hall of Famer and everything. He explained his reasoning, and of course, I gave my reasoning as to why Rasheed Wallace is not a Hall of Famer. Now, let me let you know something and make it abundantly clear, okay? First off, I want to let everyone know this is not in any shape or form to disrespect Sheed at all. I know him as Dirty 30, okay? Some might call him Sheed, or some might call him Roscoe or whatnot. Me, I know him as Dirty 30. You know what I'm saying? I've been a Rasheed Wallace fan since he was at Carolina, okay? I watched Rasheed Wallace, okay? I was a huge fan of his, okay? And I followed him throughout the course of his career, all right? You know what I'm saying? He is a talented, hell of a talent and everything, okay? But the fact of the matter is, ain't no Hall of Famer, man. He didn't play at that level. Now, these are some reasons why Rasheed Wallace didn't make it to the Hall of Fame and isn't a Hall of Fame. Okay. Now, first off, in order for you to be, in the Hall of Fame as a power forward in a center position, which he played both, man, you got to have something, that stands out, or multiple things that stand out. Okay. Uh, the the biggest criteria happens to be All NBA. Okay, I mean, yes, Rasheed Wallace, he was a four-time All Star. Okay, he was a four-time All Star. Uh, but you have to have something that stands out. You know what I'm saying? You got to be All NBA, All Defensive Team. You got to be at least leading the league in rebounding or block shots, or have multiple seasons in which you led the league in something, or you got to be averaging a double double or something. You got to have something that stands out, as well as the MVPs, as well as the other accolades. And unfortunately, Wallace ain't never had that. His biggest thing that he did have on his resume, okay, and let's go through it. He was a four-time All-Star, like I said. He did get it. He was um, a key piece with that um, '04 Pistons team. I'm not going to sit up here and cap about that. But the fact of the matter is that Rasheed Wallace never led the league in rebounding, never led the league in block shot. He never made any All NBA teams. The only, if you want to count it, you know what I'm saying, but that's not really, they don't really truly look at that, is, he made an All Rookie second team, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. And another thing is, as a big man in the league, and I talk about it all the time on this channel, is the fact that you got to average a double double, man. You know what I'm saying? At least one time in the years that you play. He never averaged a double double in any of the years that he played. Okay, his career averages were 14.4 points per game and 6.7 rebounds. You know what I'm saying? His career high in in rebounding was 18. Okay. Now, let's see. My all-time starting power forward is Dennis Rodman. Okay. That's my starting power forward. Okay. So I I put Dennis Rodman at the apex. Okay. Now some people ask, oh, well, why don't you got Karl Malone, or why don't you got Charles Barkley, or Tim Duncan, or KG, or somebody like that? You know what I'm saying? I got Dennis Rodman for my reasons. First and foremost, Rasheed Wallace, in comparison to Dennis Rodman. Now I'm gonna go through a couple of the great power forwards and some of the guys that played power forward and center on this list that you compare him to, and you'll see why he had no chance of being in the Hall of Fame in comparison to those guys. Dennis Rodman, for example. Okay, Dennis Rodman, of course, uh, he was a five-time champion. Okay, and he repeated uh, with the Detroit Pistons, and on top of that, he three-peated with the Chicago Bulls. And you got to remember, with the Chicago Bulls, what stood out the most in '96 is when they played the Supersonics, and everybody felt that Dennis Rodman should have won that Finals MVP. That's how instrumental he was. Nobody ain't never said that about Rasheed Wallace. Okay, so for you to sit up here and you say, "Oh yeah," give all this reasoning about Rasheed Wallace being in the Hall of Fame and stuff like that, and he was one of the better power forwards or the big mans or something like that. You got to give me something that stands out. Dennis Rodman was All NBA twice. Okay, uh, Dennis Rodman was All NBA defense 7 times. First team. Okay, he was a 7-time rebounding champ. He was a 2-time defensive player of the year. I mean, he was a 2-time All Star and everything. But I mean, what's the name? Rasheed. He never even sniffed that. Okay, because he's never been on. Like I said, he's never been on any All NBA team or any All Defensive team. Yeah, he was a 4-time All Star and everything, but Rasheed Wallace was always he was a good complementary uh, player, but he wasn't great and carried a team. He never did any of that. You know what I'm saying? And that's no knock on him. He just never was like a Karl Malone, for example. Karl Malone, as much as I don't like Karl Malone, and I have my reasons why, and I think y'all know why. Karl Malone, 2-time regular season MVP, 14-time All Star, right? 14 All NBA. Okay, he made the All Defensive team 4 times. Okay, three of them was first. He was first team. He even led the league in rebounding one time, and he won. And see, a lot of people, he won the MVP when Jordan was in the league. There's there's guys that won the MVP when Jordan was in the league, and that was Charles Barkley and Karl Malone. You remember Charles Barkley? He had won the MVP, and uh, what's it called? Jordan, he was filled and raged by that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what amplified him to beat the Suns. And on top of that, Karl Malone, he averaged a double double for his career. Shea Wallace ain't never do that. Okay. Top of that, you got Charles Barkley, led the league. He even led the league in rebounding one time. Okay. He was an 11-time All NBA, 5-time first, and then five-time second. And then Charles Barkley, he averaged a double double for his career. Okay, Rasheed Wallace ain't never did any of that. You know what I'm saying? He never carried a team. He never carried the team like a Charles Barkley did for the Sixers. He never carried a team like Karl Malone and John Stockton did for the Utah Jazz. You know what I'm saying? He didn't stand out like a Dennis Rodman. If you took Dennis Rodman off of the Chicago Bulls or whatever, would those guys be champions? If you took him off of those Pistons team, would they fare well in those two finals that they won? You know what I'm saying? That's what you have to look at. Then with KG, um, I'm getting into some of the guys that Rasheed Wallace had played against in the Apex. Like for instance, KG, right? KG won a regular season MVP. Okay, he was a four-time rebounding leader. Okay, KG was All NBA, nine-time All NBA. Okay, and the thing was that stood out with a guy like KG, the big Tiggy, he was a 12-time All Defensive. Okay, uh, nine times nine times first team and three-time second team. Okay, Rasheed Wallace don't have any of that on his resume. Okay, you got to have stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Tim Duncan, okay, who some people consider the greatest power forward. You know what I'm saying? That can be debated. You know what I'm saying? But if you're talking about, from an offensive standpoint or whatnot, then okay, maybe he'll have the edge on a guy like Dennis Rodman. But I got Dennis Rodman above Tim Duncan. But Rasheed Wallace ain't sniffing Tim Duncan at all. His accomplishment. Tim Duncan was a five-time champ. Don't forget, uh, he won against the Pistons too. Okay, and he had averaged a double double against the Pistons, in which Rasheed Wallace had played. Okay, I think he averaged like 20.4 and like double digit in rebounds. I can't remember the number, but he was a five-time champ, two-time MVP, three times Finals MVP, All NBA 15 times. Okay, he was a first teamer 10 times, second teamer three times, and two times he was a third teamer. Okay, all defensive team. He made it 15 times, eight times first team, and the second team he made it seven times, and then also he had a career high of 27 rebounds, man. I mean, Rasheed Wallace, his career high was 18, but 27 rebounds. You know what I'm saying? That's Dennis Rodman shit right there. You know what I'm saying? Rasheed Wallace wasn't doing anything that stood out like that. Look, Rasheed Wallace was a very, very, very good player, man. You know what I'm saying? He did some, had to turn around, had some good moves in the post. He was a good cleanup man. Uh, and sometimes, what I'm talking about when he was, still had his athleticism and stuff like that coming out of Carolina. That's what I liked him. He was, he would clean up. But when he got to the league, man, there was there was a whole different breed that he had to face in the league. Okay, even C Webb, okay, who some people say that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. I put C Webb in the Hall of Fame, and I think he should be in the Hall of Fame because he was a five-time All NBA. He led the league in rebounding. He led the league in rebounding in '98 and '99. Okay, and plus he had 6 seasons in which he averaged a double double. Okay, Rasheed Wallace, like I said, he never averaged a double double in his career. And to me, that's huge, especially as a big man. Come on, you damn near 7 foot, but you telling me that you ain't in the Hall of Fame or whatever? Come on now. And the thing about it is okay, maybe Dennis Rodman didn't average a double double every single for his career or whatnot, but he led the league in rebounding. You know what I'm saying? And you could see the work that he put in that department. And on top of that, he was the defensive player of the year. You know what I'm saying? So if you try to come with that, like, oh, well, Dennis Rodman didn't average a double double or something like that. Well, guess what he did? He led the league in rebounds, and he did it for 7 consecutive seasons. Okay. Um, and his teammate, Ben Wallace, okay, his teammate, who's in the Hall of Fame, who should be in the Hall of Fame. First off, let's just get this out of the way, okay? Ben Wallace won the Defensive Player of the Year award 4 times. Not one, not two, not three. He won it 4 times. Okay, he was a two-time rebounding leader, even led the league in blocks. Of course, he won a championship, and a lot of people say that he was the heart and soul of that defense in terms of the defensive anchor. And on top of that, he was six-time All NBA defense, and on top of that, he was five-time All NBA. Rasheed Wallace ain't never do any of that. He never did any of that, H. Dude. He never did any of that. Rasheed Wallace never did anything that was on this list. The only thing he had was four All Stars. That was it to his name. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he had career averages of 14.4 and 6.7 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Ben Wallace was grabbing damn near everything that came off the rim, and on top of that, blocking everything that was put in the air. We seen that Pistons team play. You know what I'm saying? I mean, y'all had a bunch of solid defensive guys that was on the squad. You had Tayshaun Prince. You know what I'm saying? You had Chauncey Billups, who, no pun intended. You know what I'm saying, with the situation that he's going through and stuff like that. But he wasn't, um, you know, good on defense. You know what I'm saying? Then of course you had Ben Wallace. Coupled with several other guys that was on there that were good defensive stoppers. You know what I'm saying? That was your calling card with Larry Brown. But besides that, man, to put the icing on the cake, man, Rasheed Wallace, man, is just not a Hall of Famer when you compare him to some of the great power forwards and centers on here, or some of the guys that play both positions. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say that Rasheed Wallace is not in the Hall of Fame. Some of y'all might feel different. There's a lot of people that feel like he should be in the Hall of Fame. Like there was one time where I felt like Robert Horry should be in the Hall of Fame. Now, of course, I've had a chance to kind of go back and rethink things about, because I go back and I rethink things, but you have to go back and you have to look. Okay, some of these guys that I said should be in the Hall of Fame or whatnot, did they have any of these accolades that really stood out? You know what I'm saying? Like Robert Horry, as much as I like Robert Horry, and I used to advocate for Robert Horry being in the Hall of Fame, I had to go back and I had to revisit, and I had to say he never had anything that really stood out. Yeah, he was instrumental uh, in a solid defensive player and everything, but he never did a lot of that stuff that you see on this list right here in terms of the criteria. So, like I said, man, y'all like, share, subscribe, hit them notifications too. I hope this video serves you well. Shouts out to the whole entire LDBC basketball and boxing. Tell them, man, I'm gone.